They say that if you live long enough, eventually everyone disappears. Now let's apply this to our national parks, which are the most visited places in the country. With millions of visitors every year, it's no surprise that people sometimes go missing. But some of these disappearances have been going on for decades. And there are more missing persons in national parks than just unlucky tourists. Park rangers, scientists, and even pets are occasionally lost forever. In some cases, we find out what happened to them, but most of the time nobody has a clue. In fact, 300 to 400 people vanish in US national parks every single year. And it turns out that the truth is much more sinister than you might imagine. Number 10, Dennis Martin. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is one of the most beautiful places in America. It attracts around 12 million visitors every year who come to hike through its ancient forests and discover all the wildlife that lives there. The park spans 2 states and was established in the early 1900s. Before then, the land had been privately owned and logged almost to the point of destruction. Today, it's illegal to cut down any trees inside the park. If you do, you can get fined up to $100,000 and spend up to 6 months in jail. It's hard to believe that anyone would risk such harsh penalties for a few pieces of wood, but people have tried. In 1979, 61-year-old Dennis Martin drove from Ohio to Tennessee. He wanted to take some wood back home with him. Despite being warned about the law, he snuck into the Great Smoky Mountain National Park and cut down some wood before driving home. A few days later, his car broke down near the same park. He called a tow truck and disappeared. His body has never been found, and neither has the wood he stole. Number 9, Denis Gabor. In 1986, a Hungarian immigrant named Denis Gabor disappeared while hiking alone in Yosemite National Park. He was an electrical engineer who worked for NASA and had been on several space projects, including Voyager. When he didn't return from his hike, searchers assumed he had fallen to his death somewhere along the rocky cliffs. After all, Yosemite is known for its breathtaking views and dangerous terrain. But after searching everywhere, they found nothing. They didn't find his body or any indication that he had ever been there. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. And there was even more to the story. According to Denis's wife, he had taken some classified documents with him on his trip, although she wasn't sure exactly what they were. Some believe that Denis may have been kidnapped by spies, but this has never been confirmed. Number 8, Jacob and Wilhelm. There have been strange occurrences at Yellowstone National Park since before it became a national park. Native Americans believed it to be sacred ground where spirits dwelled. And when settlers came along, they started disappearing, too. One of the first explorers to venture into Yellowstone was a man named Jacob W. Jackson. He was exploring the area in 1868 when he encountered some hostile Native Americans. They attacked him, scalped him, and left him for dead. His body was never found, nor was the body of his companion, Wilhelm. Of the 3 men who attacked them, only one survived. He told a tale of supernatural creatures with blazing eyes that emerged from the river and carried off his victims. Could this be true, or was he lying to save himself? We may never know for sure. Number 7, Mary Jane Kelly. Mary Jane Kelly and her boyfriend decided to go to Zion National Park in Utah for a romantic vacation. They got there in January 2019. Although it was the middle of winter, they decided to go for a hike anyway. As they were walking along the riverside walk, a trail close to the entrance of the park, they heard voices coming from behind some bushes. At first, they thought it was another couple, but it turned out to be a family of hikers. They asked if everything was okay and if they should keep going. The family assured them that it was safe to continue on the trail. But not long after they left, Mary Jane and her boyfriend were found dead. Apparently, the family they had spoken to was a group of Mormon fundamentalists who believed that the world was ending soon and that their prophet had commanded them to kill everyone in the park. They had already killed 5 other people, but they were sentenced to life in prison without parole. Number 6, Brian Schaefer. Brian Schaefer disappeared on April 2006. He was on spring break from college and decided to go to Yosemite National Park with some friends. He was last seen at a bar in the nearby town of Mariposa. According to witnesses, he left the bar around 10:30 p.m. and was never seen again. Since then, there have been many searches for Brian, but no trace of him has ever been found. According to statistics, there is a good chance that he will turn up dead in the next 3 years. However, this hasn't happened yet. And his mother refuses to give up hope. She believes that he is still alive somewhere and will turn up someday. But why? Was it a random crime or something more sinister? Number 5, Keith Jesperson. Keith Jesperson lived in Oregon and had a passion for fishing. One day in 1995, he decided to go to the Columbia River in Washington state. He took a backpack with him, but he left his wallet, his cell phone and his car keys at home. He also left a note for his ex-wife saying, "Traveler's rest awaits." For a while, nobody knew what this meant or where he had gone. But 3 weeks later, a fisherman discovered his car at the boat ramp and authorities launched a search. But the deeper they dug, the darker things got. Keith's truck contained traces of blood and his DNA was found in the bed. His ex-wife had bruises on her arms and said that he had assaulted her a few times. Police charged Keith with murder and began searching for his body. They never found it, however, and he remains missing to this day. Number 4, Roger Falconer. Roger Falconer was a British explorer who set out to discover the source of the Blue Nile. In 1968, he ventured into the remote jungles of Ethiopia and was never seen again. No trace of him or his body has ever been found. Some believe that he was murdered by members of his own team, but this has never been confirmed. His brother, Philip, spent over 20 years searching for Roger, combing through every possible lead. He even hired a private investigator and offered a reward of £50,000 for any information. But to this day, nobody knows what happened to him. Number 3, Maddie Clifton. Maddie Clifton went missing in Arches National Park in Utah in 2014. She was on a solo trip and had been hiking for 2 weeks. According to reports, she was obsessed with the occult and planned to sacrifice herself to Satan. In her final letter, she wrote, "I am writing this because I want my death to mean something." She then explained that she had left her car and her backpack at the park entrance and intended to walk barefoot to the Colorado River. She wanted to make the journey in under 2 days and said that she would leave behind anything that would identify her. It's unclear whether she made it to the river or not, and her body has never been found. Number 2, David Paulides. David Paulides is a former police officer who has written several books about missing persons. In 2019, he published a book titled Missing in America's National Parks, Volume 1, The True Cases of the Smoky Mountains. In it, he details 31 unsolved cases from Great Smoky Mountains National Park. He says that authorities aren't doing enough to investigate these crimes and that some of them could be linked. According to David, most of the people who go missing in national parks die at the hands of other people, either criminals or cult members. But in some cases, the victims have stumbled upon something they shouldn't have and powerful forces are trying to cover it up. Number 1, George Powell. George Powell was a well-known mountaineer who disappeared in 1955 while climbing Mount Rainier in Washington state. He was experienced and prepared and had climbed the mountain several times before. But this time something went wrong. He reached an elevation of 14,000 feet before disappearing. His body has never been found. Although he was experienced and prepared, this doesn't mean he wasn't taking risks. In fact, he had been fined several times for ignoring safety regulations. Maybe he pushed his luck too far and fell, but there is another, more sinister theory. Some say he was taken by aliens. His friends claimed that George had seen a UFO while flying in from California and had become obsessed with finding it. Could he have been abducted by extraterrestrials? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more content. See you next time.